All right, let's talk Michigan Wolverines football. Look, it's obviously been an offseason of change. Harbaugh has left, taken a huge chunk of his staff with him to the National Football League. It now puts a lot of pressure on Coach Moore to fill out that staff. We made some recent videos highlighting a couple of good moves he's made, but recently there's been reports about some really good additions to the staff that I think are an indication of a really smart strategy for Michigan going forward. Let's get into the news, and we'll talk about it more in detail on the other side. This was brought to our attention from GBM Wolverines. Within just the past week, Michigan football has reportedly hired Wisconsin defensive line coach Greg Scruggs, a touted recruiter and energetic coach, and today they hired Tennessee linebackers coach Brian Jean Mary. Both of these coaches figure out to be tremendous recruiters. Scruggs is young and should be able to relate with high school and college athletes, and Jean Mary is well known as an elite recruiter. With 2025 being stacked at defensive back and linebacker, these are huge hires. Sherrone Moore is a recruiting upgrade over Jim Harbaugh. Recruiting is a young man's game. It takes a lot of energy and devotion, and it seemed like Harbaugh became less invested in being a recruiter as time went on. With Moore, however, he's been traveling the country nonstop since his promotion to meet with recruits. He understands the importance of landing top players and to introduce the next point, NIL. All right, there's clearly a strategy here being executed by Coach Moore with his hires, looking at the recruiting element. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this report. But first, Michigan fans in the comment section below, as we get ready for 2024, now let's take one last look at 2023, the magical season it was. Give us the most underrated player on the 2023 national champion Michigan Wolverines program, a guy you think deserves more praise but isn't getting it. So in the comment section below, give us the most underrated player on the national champion 2023 Michigan Wolverines. But Miles, what are your thoughts on these latest hires by Sherrone Moore?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is a great move by Coach Moore. Just mainly going with the attitude of how do you beat these teams nowadays? Is it the transfer portal? That one's tricky, especially for a new coach on the scene. I think the easiest way to go is the recruiting route and dominating recruiting early. And he's done it a step further. He's taken a look at the 2025 class and thought, what is the most prevalent abundance of talent in this 2025 class we can add to Michigan to keep on going? What's something Michigan's been good at for a couple of years now? Very, very strong defensively. And they took a look, they saw 13 out of the top 25 recruits in this 2025 class, defensive players. Obviously, they're all either D line, cornerback, or linebacker. So there's a wide array. Having a D line coach, having a linebacker coach that are both very highly touted recruiters is going to be huge for them going forward as far as the ability to get the top level of talent over at Michigan. What do we see? We see Ohio State, that other team that they are very great at the wide receiver position. Who's one of their best recruiters? Brian Hartline, top end wide receiver. That's how they're able to get a lot of talent. What does Michigan do to counter that? They get defensive guys who are great recruiters. They're able to bring in lots and lots of defensive talent now with these young guys and veteran guys, as far as really solid recruiters, really energetic guys, bond with these players, get them into Michigan, and let's keep this defensive dominance going. Michigan does very well when they have a strong defense. So I think head coach Sherrone Moore's ability to see that and go for the recruiting route in hiring his coaches, that speaks volumes about his knowledge of what the next step for Michigan is. Coach Harbaugh was there for quite a long time. He had his way of doing things. You can't expect to replicate that if you're Sherrone Moore. You can't come and say, I'm going to do the same thing Coach Harbaugh did. It's going to work. We're going to keep on going. No, you have to figure out what your way of doing things is. And it seems hitting the streets, going across the country, getting these recruits, getting in their houses, talking to them, getting them in love with this Michigan Wolverines program. That is the way that he wants to do it. And he's hired a bunch of guys to help him out there. I think this is the new way of the Michigan Wolverines, and I think we're going to see some really big gets in this 2025 recruiting class.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you said there. There's a lot of things to really like. First of all, Coach Moore doing a great job, like you brought up, not trying to just be like a Harbaugh clone. He's being his own guy, executing his own strategy, which is, of course, the right move to make. It breeds authenticity and it breeds just overall intelligence, which you obviously need for a head man going forward. But I really think it's a smart strategy too. I think that's the importance of it. Because one of the things under Harbaugh, as great of a coach as he was, his recruiting chops kind of slipped, like the report alleged. For example, the 2023 recruiting class was only 17th in the country. For a program like Michigan, that's not very good. So, for example, South Carolina The great national powerhouse of South Carolina has been the past couple of years, had a better recruiting class than Michigan according to 24/7 Sports. Sherrone Moore is taking a different approach starting with the 2025 class and beyond. He's looking at this and saying, okay, we're going to rely more on getting top flight talent. We're going to win this recruiting matchup. And frankly, the timing is perfect to do it, right? They just won a national title. All eyes are on Michigan. People are watching what the Wolverines are doing. They are the standard program. Now is the time to capitalize on that momentum and energy in the recruiting game. So again, this is a really, really smart strategy by Sherrone Moore, hiring coaches to help supplant and build that strong recruiting pipeline. And look, I'm a big believer, as much as X's and O's matter, and especially in college football, the more talented team is going to win 99 times out of 100. That's just the way it is. There's a reason Alabama won a lot of national titles. There's a reason Georgia's been really, really good the past few years because they have more talent than anybody else, right? Doesn't mean you'll win every single game. It just means that you're going to win 99.9% of the time. It's a shocking upset when you don't win. Michigan has been one of the rare exceptions. They've been elite talent with exceptional coaching. I think if you look at recruiting rankings, for example, Ohio State had more talent on paper than Michigan, but thanks to great offensive and defensive coaching and, of course, Harbaugh, they were able to dominate Michigan the past few seasons. I think with the defensive staff, a lot of it leaving, I think with Harbaugh leaving, Sherrone Moore recognizes, okay, we're going to lose a little bit of that coaching edge. We got to replace a little bit of that with some recruiting talent edge to offset it. I think that's a great strategy from Sherrone Moore, and I think that will really help Michigan not lose too much in terms of wins and losses, allowing some recruiting talent advantages to offset some of the coaching talent disadvantages that have now left for the National Football League. So overall, I think it's a great strategy that Sherrone Moore is using at Michigan. And as a Wolverines fan, if you're a Wolverines fans out there, you should be excited by these moves because to me, this is an indication that the Wolverines leadership made the right decision promoting Sherrone Moore to be the head man in Ann Arbor.